All right, we are here with a special edition podcast of Maize and Blue Review. Obviously, the breaking news across the wire: Jim Harbaugh has accepted an offer to join the Los Angeles Chargers, head to the NFL, and end his tenure as Michigan head coach. Obviously, he will finish out on top, national champion, 3 straight Big Ten championships. The last 3 wins over Ohio State will be the 4th straight Michigan head coach to have a losing record against Ohio State, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, of course, the questions now are what's next, right? Everybody's kind of thrown into turmoil here as Harbaugh leaves. Turmoil might be overstating it, though. This is something Michigan has not been sitting on their hands. The coaches have not been sitting on their hands, and now it's just a matter of executing and moving forward. So we're going to talk about it. Harbaugh to the Chargers, how we got here. I know a lot of people want to point blame. I think we can have a quick conversation about that. And then, of course, we'll talk about Michigan football and where Michigan football goes next, which is the most important. I'm obviously biased because he signs my checks, but I can't think of a better person I'd rather be having this conversation with than our Intel insider and publisher, Mr. Josh Henschke. I'm not going to ask how you're doing. I know you're flustered. I know your phone's blowing up, but I guess right before you and I came on, we were talking about how we felt.
Yeah.
And the word that came to my mind was relief.
Yeah.
There was it was weird seeing it official, Chargers and him in some of those Photoshops, which tripped me out. But as I sit here, I think I feel relief.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah. And you got to everyone watching too, you have to excuse me if I'm like seem all over the place. I've got the website up on one tab. I got my phone going on the other. So you'll have to excuse me here if I'm all over the place. But yeah, no, I think the best case, yeah, I mean, it's relief, I think, losing Harbaugh, it is what it is at this point. It almost feels like it's been building to this crescendo all year, really. I mean, It kind of felt like
I feel like the Rose Bowl win was really a change in trajectory.
Yeah. And so this was kind of the thing that really kind of just solidified it all. It's winning the national championship really kind of really just really wrapped up the deal. But yeah, here we are. Michigan should move on pretty fast. So, it's it's a sense of relief. This is kind of a yearly charade that we're at this, position. So, yeah, it's over. it's over. We're heading into a new era of Michigan football. When, I don't know. We'll talk about that with timing and everything else, because I know Michigan was caught off guard, but Michigan wasn't told this was coming down the pipeline today. They were expecting it tomorrow. So the players and staff just found out about it when we did.
Twitter. Yeah.
So that's kind of the unfortunate side effects of social media, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, he wanted to go back to the NFL. He made it clear he wanted to go back to the NFL. I don't think there was anything Michigan could have done at this point to keep him around. Yeah, it's over. So, I mean, they just have to kind of, look ahead. Sherrone Moore, it's going to be the guy. And, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't think Sherrone Moore is going to be looking for the NFL every year. So
maybe that's part of my relief feeling, right? Like, obviously, you win the national championship. Everything you've accomplished in the last 3 years, if you're a Michigan fan, feels pretty good, right? You've been able to enjoy it. I know some, and I shouldn't even say some, I know a lot of fans, obviously, you reach that point and you want it to continue and you want to maintain it. Like, I've seen the comparisons, especially with Saban retiring, that maybe Harbaugh could become kind of that guy in college football. But here's the key. He needs to want to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that, in 2001, when he went and talked to the Vikings, and, we kind of learned from some of his comments later that Harbaugh felt like Michigan, after that Georgia loss, he felt like he had taken Michigan as far as it could go.
Yeah.
He didn't think there was a landscape where Michigan was going to be able to win a national championship. They could win the Big Ten. They could beat Ohio State. They could get to the playoff, but they were just going to run into a Georgia, right? That was kind of his sentiment. So he looked for the Vikings. And then obviously that kind of situation blows up, and maybe the NFL isn't ready to welcome him back yet. Maybe they're not ready to give him what he wants. Comes back to Michigan, and to his credit, has always been fully committed to the job. As soon as he comes back, engines roaring, here we go. And then after 2022, he starts to think, hey, maybe we can do this, right? Like maybe we can win a national championship. He made some comments about how that season kind of renewed his belief. They obviously felt like they should have beaten TCU. And then with everybody coming back for 23, I think he knew, and everybody knew, we talked about it. Like if Michigan doesn't win in this window, when are they going to, right? There's some luck involved in winning a national championship, but with the roster you had, the way the schedule laid out, except for the back half, they obviously had some challenges there, especially with Harbaugh being suspended, but some of the top teams had quarterback changes, coordinator changes. It really seemed to line up for Michigan. And sure enough, they win the national championship. And I've said for these couple years that in order for Harbaugh to leave, somebody was going to have to offer him everything he needs and wants to leave Ann Arbor, right? And for the longest time, I never thought that was going to happen. The money part, the control part, all of that. And the Chargers too, I think are just in a situation where, look, it was time for them to spend money. They got to sell seats in LA, right? We've talked about that, but I think winning the Rose Bowl, winning the Natty has given Jim some leverage he hasn't had in past couple of years. We know about the ties to the Chargers and how bad he wanted that job. So we'll learn as we go what concessions maybe were made for him to accept this. But at the end of the day, we brought up the blame part. I'm not going to defend anybody in this, and I don't want to get into too much details, but Jim left because Jim wanted to go to the NFL. And I know we can talk about frustrations with Ward and this athletic department back to even last year when some of this contract talk started. This door has always been left open to the NFL, and Michigan has offered everything they can. If he wanted to be at Michigan more, he'd be back, right? Like I think that's just a reality people have to accept. I don't think he was chased off. I just can't buy into that. Again, I think there's plenty of blame and mistakes were made, and we can talk about that. But at the end of the day, this is a job and a location that Jim Harbaugh wanted to go to, and that's why he's there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I'm not even going to get into the Ward stuff. It's,
guys apologize as we're reading our phones and trying to give you everything updated. So
yeah, it's stupid. It's dumb. You're just making just ridiculous arguments at this point. The man has spoken to, the man has spoken to NFL teams for the last 3 years. There is eventually going to be a point where they meet, where this kind of meets ahead. And here we are. So, you can talk about the contract stuff all you want. There was progress made weeks ago, but again, it happened. You're just gonna have to live with it and see how this goes. I don't think blaming Ward in this instance, especially the last couple of weeks with the Chargers thing, the guy didn't want to be here. Let's call it what it is. He didn't want to be here. He wanted to be in LA. So here we are. He didn't want to be here. He obviously didn't want to negotiate with Michigan because he hasn't given them a chance to come back with a counteroffer or anything like that, even though they did bump up their money, which the money was never going to be the be all end all of this thing anyway. But he didn't want to be here. Let's call it what it is. Jim Harbaugh wanted to leave, and here we are. He is now leaving, and it should become official tomorrow. But I mean, Yeah, you can blame Ward for a lot of things, maybe that we didn't get here in the first place, but he didn't want to be here. Yeah. He didn't want to be here. And that's it at the end of the day.
And let's be clear too. If Ward not being here was the only impetus for Jim staying, one phone call.
Yep.
One phone call. If Michigan was told they have to choose between Jim and Ward, if that had been laid in front of them, they would have made that decision. So if that was this big part of Jim's sentiment, for a man that loves this program as much as he does, has been around it since he was a child, who played here, who rooted for Michigan from afar, who came here, saved it from where it was, coached it back to this legacy, etc. If you're telling me he gave up all of that just because of Ward, I'm not buying that. I'm sorry. And again, I'm not here to defend. Again, you just said quick. I'm not covering for Ward. I'm just being realistic.
Get out of here. Get out of here with this stuff. You know,
things aren't that simple. Black and white.
Go take off your tinfoil hat and go do it somewhere. I'm not dealing with this shit right now. It's stupid. It's a dumb decision. Jim Harbaugh won a national championship and he's gone. He did what he wanted to do. He did what he came to do, and he's gone. Just take that Ward argument and do with it somewhere else. It's just not. It's not going to be the time for that. I mean, this is the man didn't want to be in Ann Arbor anymore. He won the national championship. He did everything he set out to do, and now he wants to get that NFL itch that he's had for multiple years.
Right.
It's just whatever, you know. It is what it is.
Yeah, like I said, back to feeling a sense of relief almost. We talked about scenarios where even if he comes back, does the NFL stuff ever go away? Right? Like, unless he signs a contract with an $80 million buyout for NFL teams or something like that, right? Would that even go away? So hypothetically, the Chargers thing doesn't work out, or the Falcons, and he comes back. There's also a scenario where he comes back and he still doesn't sign a new contract. He's under contract right now, you know? So I don't know. So let's talk about, you know, Jim's obviously gone to the Chargers, and the question is going to turn to what's next. The expectation for a while, and now, Josh, I don't know what terminology you want to use in regards to Sherrone Moore being the next Michigan football head coach. That has been the expectation for a while. How would you term that? And then how quick do you think this can happen? I know I remember this happened with something previously too, with having to post to the position. Mm-hmm. Like, it's got to be open for a certain amount of time before it's officially named or whatever. So it might be a week before this becomes official because of that. But is there any chance Sherrone Moore is not the next head coach?
No, he's the guy. I mean, now you've got players publicly campaigning for him. I've seen Zinter do it, and now Jacob Oden too is doing it. So, it's going to be Sherrone Moore, and I think this is Michigan's best option in terms of program stability and overall, I guess, long-term health. You know, I think overall this will be a popular pick among the players, and I think that's the most important part, because obviously you want to keep especially the player.
We've seen the exodus at Alabama and Washington.
Yeah,
when they made some coaching changes. So
yeah, and you obviously, Michigan has suffered its fair share of losses to the NFL too. I mean, a lot of guys with starting experience, JJ McCarthy in particular. So you don't want to lose even more on top of that. So I think Sherrone Moore gives you the best chance to not only keep the culture where it is, you know, as we talked about on Monday, you know, he's been around since 2018, and he's part of this that's built the culture.
That's a really good point. Now. Yeah. He was here during the dark times too. He was like, with all the coaching changes and everything that was made in past 2020 to 21, he was like the one bright spot that kind of hung around.
Yep.
Right. And from a player's perspective too, we've talked about this on our pods multiple times. For those that don't know behind the scenes, Sherrone Moore has already, for the last few years, basically been head coach 1B within this program. Him and Jim's bond, a lot of it has to do with Jim being able to trust more with the program and leave, right? Jim's been able to go back to California and leave a lot more in the offseason and have more back here. He's been a huge factor in recruiting some of the top prospects. I always bring up the famous 4-for-4 picture with Frazier, Prescorn, Jaden Davis, and Jordan Marshall. Jim Harbaugh wasn't in town for that weekend. Mm-hmm. And that picture is the coordinators and Sherrone Moore dead center, right? So obviously that's the work that's got to be done. Other programs are, I'm sure, already tampering, are going to be doing whatever they can to try and snipe Michigan players. So you do what you can, right? But I think in terms of the experienced guy or the coordinator, we've talked about this too. I think it's a complete crapshoot. We've seen big name hires not work out. We've seen the coordinators nobody believes in does work out. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the guy's been in your program for 6 years. You saw what he did leading this team while Jim was being suspended, beating Penn State, beating Ohio State, etc. I don't think this is the same thing as Marcus Freeman and how the players kind of demanded that. Freeman had been there for a year, right? Like Moore was already pre-bought into Michigan. He's turned down other opportunities to stay here. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm not going to pretend I know he's going to be successful because I don't. And the same thing with Jim. I don't think a lot of people thought it would take 7 years to beat Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
We don't know. That's just a fact. I think there's things that could improve potentially under Moore. I think there's going to be challenges that would be. The first one's obviously going to be replacing his defensive coordinator, most likely.
Yep.
I didn't expect Jesse Minter back last year. Right. So getting him back for 23 was pretty great anyway.
Right.
I mean, the expectation all year has been that Jesse Minter was going to pursue basically whatever NFL DC opportunity he wanted because it would be available to him. Pretty fair assumption he's going to go to LA with Jim right at this point. But what else do we know about the staff? Right. Minter seems obvious. Jay seems obvious. We've heard things on Herbert. I know there's a national person saying something else about Herbert, but I mean, obviously people have decisions to make. And now that this has happened, those decisions start. But anyway, what are you hearing in terms of Moore and the staff?
Yeah. So it's expected that Jim's going to take Jesse Minter and Jay Harbaugh with him. I think Michigan's pretty much expecting that at this point. We'll kind of see what happens in that regard. But I think Michigan is going to be on a quest for a new offensive and defensive coordinator. So, a name that's stuck out to me early for offensive coordinator is elevating Kirk Campbell from quarterback's coach to offensive coordinator. Again, it's not. I want to preface this by saying it's not, this isn't 100% done deal with these names that I'm mentioning. It is going to be Sherrone Moore, the guy, to be head coach. However, the expectation is that Kirk Campbell will get a big, strong consideration for offensive coordinator. Grant Newsome will be bumped up to offensive line coach, which makes sense.
I was hoping
Harbaugh mentioned that earlier this year.
I was going to say if Harbaugh had stayed, I was hoping that Moore and Newsome would switch spots with O-line and tight end just to take something off of Moore's plate. So Newsome, for those who don't know, Newsome was the grad assistant who was coaching the offensive line when Ed Warner wasn't doing his job, one of the violations Michigan is dealing with. But Newsome, obviously a former offensive lineman himself. He's been under Moore's tutelage this entire time. I think that's a great move to move him to offensive line coach.
Yeah. And I want to, I just got a text message.
This is fun.
In response to the 7-day state law thing, that is accurate. It has to be posted for 7 days. The job according to Michigan state law. However, how Michigan is going to maybe work around this is to just name Sherrone the interim and kind of just wink, nudge, kind of deal. So that's kind of how it was explained to me. So it makes sense, you know, if Sharon's gonna be the guy. I don't know if they're even gonna talk to anyone else. I don't think even if the 7-day law was a thing, they wouldn't anyway. But yeah, everything is pretty much done. I know that they worked on terms. Obviously, we've mentioned it. They were working on both. Offensive coordinator and head coach contract. Well, now we know what contract's going to be, what's going to be mentioned. So this right now, we're kind of in the wait and see type of stage, obviously, because it's the state law is kind of hindering things here, but we're at the point now where they could probably very well, whenever this becomes official. Michigan was under the assumption that this gets formally announced tomorrow, but it may even be announced tonight. I mean, who knows? Because I know the Chargers made a cryptic tweet with the us thing,
the white smoke.
Yeah. So, at this point, it could be announced tonight, but Michigan was expecting it tomorrow. That's why no one found out until Schefter tweeted it. That's when they found out that this decision was coming down. So, I mean, they can't with the 7-day law thing. They can't just be like, all right, Sharon, you're the guy, and then let it sit there for 7 days. So, they'll say, hey, we'll maybe, I mean, this is how it's framed to me. I'm not saying this is what 100% is going to happen, but, they'll say Sharon Moore is the interim head coach, 7 days later, magically, and around that 7-day timeline, they'll make the official announcement that Sharon is the guy. But I don't think there's any, any doubt that Sharon is going to be the guy. Excuse me. So, we're just kind of, I mean, the state, they're kind of at the mercy of Michigan state law. And, which is kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. So
yeah, I think it's just important that's who the guy is
at this point.
You're right. It's important that Moore's the guy. The players know he's the guy, and that's it, right? Campbell, though, makes sense. He's got he's got previous play calling experience at Old Dominion, but he was already a big factor in the passing game. I'd be interested to see if there's some type of passing game, run game situation like we'd seen in the past under Harbaugh, or if
I do want to, before, I'm sorry for interrupting, I just want to credit Austin Meek here, because he just made a tweet that I wasn't aware of. So thank you, Austin. He just tweeted, he's on the potential timing of elevating Sharon Moore. University policy requires that jobs be posted for a minimum of 7 days, but departments can request a waiver based on legitimate business needs. So, that's a waiver there.
With the transfer portal being open immediately and all that goes with it. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So there you go. So, I don't think that waiver process would take very long, especially because, there is an immediate need. So we'll see we'll see. But I mean, it's Sharon Moore. This is Sharon Moore's job.
Yeah.
Unless he just somehow wakes up and has a magical turn of a change of heart and says he doesn't want the job, it's going to be him. So, just people are just going to have to, whether they like that move or not, they're just going to have to be prepared.
I don't know. I don't really know to go with this, right? There's some speculation. There's some things we know, but obviously, like we said, with the defensive staff, and I mean, in the past, we heard Klink maybe didn't want to be DC or involved in the play calling, whether he's elevated Elston, whether they go outside. There will be interesting. And then obviously the Ben Herbert noise, I think resolving all of that. I don't know how quickly a lot of that gets resolved, but I'd imagine I don't know, that's got to be pretty massive. I mean, Herbert just signed, we've talked about this in previous podcasts. He just signed a massive deal right? Like, and in college, the hands-on approach you have versus in the NFL, unless Harbaugh swung some other type of role for him in LA, I've seen reports people expect him to go. So, I mean, that's conflicting right now. We'll see, but that's one that just doesn't make a ton of sense to me for him to jump. But
yeah, there's reports out there that he's going to leave.
Feldman said that he expects him to, but
well, that would be completely opposite of everyone that everyone said.
Well, Feldman also said he was going to coach at Penn State like 5 minutes before the TRO was denied. So
yeah, right.
Not trying to make fun of the dude. I've been wrong on stuff plenty of times too. That's why it gets tough with this stuff, because this morning there was obviously a lot of rumors and reports. Josh posted a joke along the lines of, where in the world is Harbaugh candidate, San Diego, that kind of thing. I posted an article about the rumors, and I think it's easy to jump on a lot of that stuff. And and right now we're in that mode of, are people turning ideas or speculation that could be well-informed speculation?
I see it.
Facts or whatever,
I see it. Okay, so what Feldman said is another big thing to keep an eye on with Michigan is whether Jim Harbaugh brings Ben Herbert to the Chargers. Well, you can stop print there. It's not happening. He's not going to. I mean, unless everyone is being lied to from Herbert's perspective in terms of Michigan. I would be shocked that if he were to leave. I mean, he makes $1.6 million. I don't see an NFL franchise saying, "Oh, hey, yeah, we'll match that." I mean, it's totally two different things. We mentioned this on the podcast. If you guys were watching the other day on Monday, the difference between a collegiate strength and conditioning coach and an NFL strength and conditioning coach is basically night and day. And there was a reason why Ben Herbert is where he is and what he is, an assistant coach, getting paid and all that stuff. I would be stunned if he were to leave and follow Jim to LA. And by the way, Ben Herbert does not strike me as an LA type of guy. So, that's just a type of, just want to say that, first of all. I would be shocked. He would be a fish out of water in LA if he were to go there, but it's a business decision, so I get it.
There's parts of California that, I mean, Harbaugh's obviously, aside from Michigan, Southern California is his other home, right? With his dad, obviously high school, and then coached there at San Diego and Stanford. So that's his other home. But I do wonder if he's going to be a little fish out of water himself in LA. I just following the comments from, Chargers beat people and fans and stuff. I think there's a perception of Harbaugh from a distance, and then there's people who follow him daily or he's coached their program who look at him differently, right? And it's going to be fun to watch the Chargers get to know Jim Harbaugh. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that works, because there is not much patience in the NFL, especially these days. So, the Chargers have cap problems that they're going to have to sift through. Will Jim Harbaugh's impact be immediate?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll kind of see.
Yeah, I want to get back to Michigan. I don't want to get too off, but I do have a thought on this. I think coaches and what their impact in the league is now can come from either a schematic, just innovative place, right? We've seen the young coordinators, but there's obviously a place for culture changers, right? And it's what each program needs that's different. So we've talked about the Lions. Obviously, we're, here covering Lions fans, not covering them, but we're follow the Lions, right? Mm-hmm. And Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, that combo specifically, was obviously about culture change and embodying the city of Detroit, right? And taking on, I think in a lot of ways, Campbell was so doubted and picked apart when he came here. And Jared Goff is a guy that people gave up on and thought his time was past, right? And it sounds corny, but like these guys with that feeling coming together and changing the culture, it worked, right? That said, they had Ben Johnson, a schematic genius working the offense, and that really helped turn the program too. So what I wonder with the Chargers is so much of their issues, if you will, or deficiencies over the years has been the ownership and the Spanos family and their own drama and their own not issues, but their own nepotism and things that exist in their front office, right? Is Harbaugh by himself enough to turn that tide? You know, that's the thing that doesn't get talked about a ton with this is it's a big risk Jim Harbaugh's taking here.
Mm-hmm.
Wanting to win a Super Bowl and actually doing it are two very different things, right? John Harbaugh is 10 years removed from his Super Bowl.
Right.
And first time in the AFC Championship game since then with Lamar Jackson, right? Like it's hard, even for the best coaches, it's hard to get there. Yeah. So, God, I mean, I'm going to root for him. I hope he does well. But to your point, yeah, 2020 happened in Michigan. And the pay cut, everything with that contract. But in the NFL, is that going to be allowed to happen? Is he going to have that much time?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the Spanos family isn't going to cut his pay and say, hey, we'll give you another shot.
Right.
They're going to be, I'm sure they've paid him a pretty penny to get to come there. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and root for the guy to fail. No. I hope he gets his Super Bowl. And, whenever he decides to come back to Ann Arbor as a spectator, he's going to be applauded. He's going to be thanked for his, of
course,
for the job that he's done. And he did exactly what he came out to do. I just don't know if there's going to be a ton of new Chargers fans. That's all.
We'll see. I mean, I think on the initial hype, they'll probably sell some season tickets. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen the unified following of, I didn't know how many Chargers fans there actually were. I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but I mean, it's a pretty open consensus. They have road games for home games, right? LA's a transplant city, whatever. So I think he'll be a boost. And I wonder if that really pushed him because they didn't have the choice anymore. Like the fans would have revolted. Right. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I'm not rooting for him to fail, obviously. Like you said, I also don't want him to fail because I think that's going to open a door to a lot of regret and what ifs and framing from this fan base. Obviously, how Moore does is going to shape a lot, right? That's the most important thing is what Sherrone Moore does next. And you could argue, and I think I would argue, culture-wise, Sherrone Moore is inheriting a better situation than Jim Harbaugh did.
Oh, 100%. There's no
roster-wise, it's not close. Jim Harbaugh had a significantly, in terms of talent that was returning, right? Like 2015 and 2016 was loaded with NFL talent, right? And guys that had been here for a while. This team right now, I'm high on, right? We've talked about this is a good roster. But in terms of, I think what just grown like juniors, seniors, things like that, Moore's taking over a national champion that's seeing upwards of 20 dudes go to the NFL. You brought that up, right? So he's got to put his own stamp on this.
Oh yeah.
With the stamp move and maintain this culture. But I wonder what, in terms of expectations, right? Like what Moore's got a really interesting balance going into this first year, man.
I mean,
it's a tough gig,
it is. No, I mean, Sherrone is walking into a situation that is favorable, but at the same time, pressure filled because A, you're coming off a natty, B, you're entering the shoes of a, let's call it what it is, a legendary coach for the program. And now you're expected to carry that on. So I think the big thing that, and I'm not saying, if Michigan absolutely stinks next year that, just give it time. I mean, I think you have to be you have to come off the gates firing on all cylinders. You can't be this, middling program, especially considering what you have. So, if he's gonna be good, he has to be good right away to continue on this culture. But yeah, I mean, I don't envy the position he's in. It's tough. I mean, anytime you come in and replace a legendary head coach. I mean, DeBoer's doing it in Alabama. 3 out of the 4 college football playoff teams are replacing their head coaches now. With Michigan being the third. Washington obviously with DeBoer going to Alabama and Saban retiring. So man, it's tough. I mean, the schedule is not great. I know for all the fans that were complaining about Michigan's bad schedule and from a viewing standpoint and ticket standpoint, and other people obviously too saying Michigan's schedule kind of stinks, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's tough. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy job. And I think the thing what we have to kind of realize is that Sharon Moore is not Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is cut from the same Harbaugh cloth, but he is not Jim Harbaugh, and he's going to put his own spin on this program. So I can't sit here and tell you.
But to your earlier point, he already has. That's been a big part of the culture rebuild. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a part of it already. Like, Sharon Moore has already put it's obviously his complete program now.
Right.
Who knows if there's things he wanted to do that he couldn't do. But I guess my point is, I've said this before he left, so I don't want this to come off like not sour grapes or because he's leaving, I'm saying this, but I've said a long time, as much credit as Jim Harbaugh deserves for turning this around and everything that Michigan has accomplished. And at the end of the day, he's the one that hired the coaches he hired. People were kind of questioning Ed Warner being tossed, right? These assistant coaches, Sharon Moore, Mike Hart, Elston, the guys with the Michigan connections, Bellamy coming in, obviously him finally getting Klink. That was as much, if not more, a part of this culture rebuild as Harbaugh himself, right? I remember you and I talking about players kept, saying, everybody's like, man, Jim's really changed. Jim's really changed. He did some things to get healthy personally and some other things like that. But players kept telling us he was the same dude from 20 to 21 to 22, right? So a big part of the change was guys like Sharon Moore. But yeah, that being said, like Dave says, Harbaugh, but with 50% less of the drama.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's a lot of things we've always just kind of taken because with Harbaugh, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. On a more literal sense, the NCAA investigations.
Yeah. I just hold on my phone.
Yeah, do what you gotta do. Moving forward now without Harbaugh and how those things are handled. Okay. I know there's plenty of people. What?
I got something for you.
Okay.
So Sharon Moore is in Texas right now. He's recruiting. The plan for him is to try to fly back tonight. The wheels are going to be turning tomorrow. Okay. But this has been the outcome that they've been planning for, since the parade ended, since that celebration ended. This was kind of the thing that they wanted to shore up and get done. So the plan is for him to get his staff in place and moving fast. And obviously the purpose of that is to keep players out of the portal. But he's already been working hard to keep players out of the portal to begin with. He's been a lot of this has been working behind the scenes. I think we'll obviously see what happens. I don't think there's going to be some mass exodus personally, but who the hell knows? I mean, the Sharks are going to be circling once that 30-day window enters. I mean, whenever Harbaugh is announced, I would assume that's when the 30-day window opens, but the Sharks are going to be circling.
Yeah, I think it has less to do with the players' mindset and maybe what happens if a team comes in and offers them whatever they offer them. That's where I'm with you.
Right.
Because I've talked to a couple players. I talked to a player's dad, and I've said this before in a credit to Harbaugh. I mean, he has been honest with these players and these recruits about this opportunity. So
I want to answer Jason's question here. I don't know for certain, but I know they're going to try and get around it somehow. Are they likely to get the waiver for the 7-day window? I can't tell you right now, honestly, Jason. I couldn't tell you with any certainty. And I mean, I would be stunned if they didn't try. They definitely tick every box in terms of the needs to get this waiver. And I mean, yeah, I don't see why anyone would really be contentious in terms of getting this done. So I don't know for a fact that they'll get the waiver. Obviously I know they'll probably try, but I know we kind of mentioned it earlier that, if worst case scenario is that they just name Sharon the interim, and once that 7-day window's up, they just kind of be like, oh, surprise, Sharon's the guy. So, I mean, yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm reading these comments as they come in. Vince. Yeah. They've been pretty clear, that they're like, hey, this is what's going to happen if Jim leaves. Like, Sharon's going to be the guy. We don't really know much outside of that, but we know that we're going to keep it in house. Sharon's going to be the guy. So yeah, I mean, these players aren't in the dark. The only thing that they were in the dark about was the announcement that came out today from Adam Schefter. That's how they learned of Jim leaving, because they were expecting it to happen tomorrow. So, yeah, I mean, this stuff has been working behind the scenes for weeks now. This isn't just surprise, Jim's gone. Well, I guess we're gonna be stuck with Sharon. No, this has been working for quite some time. So it doesn't come as everyone is working now. I was texted earlier from someone I talked to. They were basically told that the coaches are all coming back from their recruiting trips. And the expectation was that Sharon was going to be the guy, and they've been working, and the players are being informed of that as well. So none of this is going to be a shock to the players, even Harbaugh leaving. So we'll kind of see what happens from here on out. But yeah, everyone is working under the assumption that Sharon is going to be the guy, and they've been that way for quite some time.
Well, and to your point too, something you just said, Michigan has been on the recruiting trail, right?
Yep.
Things haven't been as paused as maybe as some people think. I'm not going to pretend things have been rolling either, right? Josh talked about on the last podcast, we don't know anything about junior days at this point.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some things. Jay Harbaugh, to his credit, was literally handing out offers yesterday. Right. Yeah. So these guys have been working. And yeah, now the tough part, you got to kind of work in reverse and forward at the same time. Right. But some comments, we've seen some tweets from players who are now former players supporting. We've seen some recruits come out and support, some commits. I saw Blake Frazier put out a smiley face. Marion Stewart, wide receiver commit coming in this year, spoke with our rivals national guy, Greg Smith, and he said, I hate to see him go. However, every man has to do what is best for him. Blessed to have had the honor of him being part of recruiting me. Thankful for the relationship that was built with me and my family. He's built a solid foundation and definitely dropped plenty of gems. So we will continue to complete the job. He has always wanted the best for us, and we want whatever is best for him. Go Blue. That last sentence, he has always wanted the best for us, and we want whatever is best for him. If you want to call it corny or whatever, I hear that all the time from players and from players' parents, right? Like they've almost rooted for him. They know what this could mean for him, right? They've taken, in terms of the parents have trusted their kids with Jim Harbaugh, taken them from boys to men, whatever, helped develop them and their character, and done everything possible to get them to the league or whatever their next life goal is. So for Harbaugh to do that as well, you're not going to find a lot of people upset with it because of how Harbaugh's been and up front he's been. Now there's going to be some people, depending on their relationship, maybe Harbaugh was the main reason that they were looking at Michigan in terms of current recruits, right? That there's definitely a chance of that.
Well,
in terms of
it's official now. So now the clock is going to roll. So the Chargers just announced that that Harbaugh is the coach. So now it's time. It's time. So the 30-day clock starts. Michigan is going to move. Everyone is coming back to Ann Arbor. Now they're just going to be, we're moving forward. So,
oh my God,
I think once the news got leaked that Harbaugh was the guy, they pretty much couldn't really couldn't move any quicker.
I have to show this because this is just too funny. To the Chargers' credit, this is their Twitter account currently.
Yeah.
That's good. You gotta try and have fun with it. Well,
the Chargers have a good social media team. I'll give them that much.
Yeah. So that's funny. I'm sorry. Oh man.
Yeah. So
that's so funny.
Yeah. Onward.
I know. I was gonna say I don't want to talk in circles here. I know there's a lot of folks, so if you want to ask some questions, feel free. But otherwise, we've probably covered a lot already at the start of this podcast. All expectations, as Josh has said, at this point, Sherrone Moore will be the next head coach. Yeah. It's just such an obvious move at this point. We do expect Jesse Minter to follow Jim Harbaugh, but I don't think that was, again, I don't think Jesse Minter staying was really, that would have been a shock even with Harbaugh back. So we'll see what they do there. People have asked about Klink. It seems like an obvious internal move, whether he wants to do that or not. I mean, externally, obviously there are a couple of Ravens guys. if Sherrone Moore wants to continue that with Michigan, we've heard Jim Leonard's name out there previously. And then, Sherrone Moore has his own connections as well. There's a name that's been out there. I'm not going to say it right now, but there's a name that's been out there as well that maybe more would pursue. I don't know. We're going to find out.
I got more.
I'm basically just filling time until you get text. So that's fine.
Yeah. So what I told is that there, with Moore being the guy, that there's going to be an increased push in NIL and also increased recruiting efforts. So, that could be empty words now, but there is a push by Sherrone to get those things going faster. So that's good to know. That's good to hear. I mean, from someone, from people who, are complaining about NIL, I think they're going to go away from the transformational, not transactional, but not going to the transactional part. I think they're going to go away from that kind of mindset, and then become a little bit more aggressive, not necessarily straight up paying for players and doing illegal stuff. They're already in enough NCAA crap as it is, but I think they're from what I just got, I can't share all of it, but there's going to be an increased NIL push and a larger focus on recruiting as well. So that was, and as I'm talking, Sherrone is going to be more forward with NIL too. He's going to be more visible. So I'm just good thing about Max is you get your text messages popped in the right corner of the screen, so I can read as I go. It's beautiful thing. But I
hate Apple, but dude, all of my stuff being connected is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, so I can just read all the updates I'm getting in the corner of my screen. It's beautiful. But I think from a fan perspective that you hear that Michigan plans to be more aggressive in NIL and recruiting is good news. But talking a big game is one thing, doing it is another. So, I can't sit here and say, oh, day one, it's going to be radically different. I think you're going to see it eventually.
It's going to evolve and look different.
Right. It's going to evolve. So I'm not sitting here and saying, hey, tomorrow it's going to be great. There's going to be cash flowing everywhere. It's not happening. There's going to be a gradual a snowball effect here. So, yeah, I mean, from at least from a fan perspective, that's good news. I think that's probably the best thing that Sharon could do to put himself at least in the good graces of people who might doubt him. Obviously that's going to be taken care of on the field come September, but in the early stages, one way to separate yourself from your predecessors to be more aggressive on the recruiting trail.
Well, and let's just be honest. I'm going to hate saying this out loud, but I mean, maybe I'm not hiding it with the gray in my beard. Sharon Moore is younger than me.
Yeah.
Right. This is a young, energetic football coach who, I brought this up before when defending him, has been doubted every step of the way. When he was hired as tight end coach, people were like, why are we getting some dude from Central? When he was moved to O-line, why are we getting rid of Ed Warner for this tight end coach? You never coached O-line. When he was moved to OC, why are we, you know what I mean? Like, he's been doubted every step. And I talked about too, Jim was gone a lot in the last couple off seasons.
Yeah.
Moore was already kind of heading that recruiting. And I wonder if a young, energetic coach like Moore, who played college football, 16 years ago at this point, something like that at Oklahoma, it's going to be different. Josh, I'm going to read this really long statement, give you time to look into more, but we've got words from Jim Harbaugh. So he starts, my love for Michigan, playing there and coming back to coach there leaves a lasting impact. I'll always be a loyal Wolverine. I'm remarkably fortunate to have been afforded the privilege of coaching at places where life's journey has created strong personal connections for me. From working as an assistant coach at Western Kentucky alongside my father, Jack, in time to being an assistant with the Raiders, to being a head coach at San Diego, Stanford, the Niners, and Michigan. Each of those opportunities carried significance. Each felt personal. When I played for the Chargers, the Spanos family could not have been more gracious or more welcoming. Being back here feels like home, and it's great to see that those things haven't changed. The only job you start at the top is digging a hole, so we know we've got to earn our way. This is so Jim Harbaugh, my God. Be better today than yesterday. Be better tomorrow than today. My priorities are faith, family, and football, and we are going to attack each day with an enthusiasm unknown to make. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I can't help it. It's just the same stuff.
It's word salad.
This organization is putting in the work, investing capital, building infrastructure, and doing everything within its power to win. Great effort. Okay, yeah. So nothing really earth-shattering there, but yeah, I mean that's gonna be. I think you're right. I think when Harbaugh comes back, in whatever time, like, he's gonna be well received,
as he should. But
I'm gonna say, but I think how the next couple of years go, and also Jim has had a tendency in the past to love where he is at the time and maybe be a little biased to his current place and maybe say some things he doesn't necessarily mean. There was a time nobody thought Jim Harbaugh would ever return to Michigan because of the comments he made as Stanford head coach, right? And I think as much as he doesn't care what people think, I think consensus does kind of get to him. So I hope it doesn't go this way, but I could see, I think Michigan and Harbaugh will work to make sure this is an amicable split, which I think it will be, but it's going to be weird. It just is. It's going to be weird for a little bit, but this is kind of an interesting question and something, I don't know the exact details, but I know we don't know Moore's contract per se yet, but there is kind of an interesting thing here where, I mean, Sharon Moore is not going to be the highest paid coach in college football.
No.
Right.
I have a ballpark number. I'm not going to say it because I can't screw over who told me this, but it's north of 5 million.
Yeah.
So it's north of 5 million, but less than 10. So it's somewhere between that 5 to 10 million range, and it's the
range you should be in. Yeah,
it's not upper on that range. I will say that. At least that's what I was told.
And
I
I'd
mean,
imagine
we'll
he's going
see
to have a
what that
lot of the
looks
same incentives that Harbaugh did, right?
right. There could be incentives involved, and there could be, the numbers could change. But yeah, I would assume it's a 5-year deal. I don't have the numbers on years, but most contracts are usually about 5. It should be more than around it. That's funny.
It is funny.
Well, we'll see. If he continues to, if Sharon continues to win, he'll definitely be at that level sooner rather than later. But yeah, I mean, to sit here and say that, oh, things are going to be great. It's going to be like you never missed a beat. I can't say that unless I have some sort of magical powers where I can see the future.
Right.
And I do not. So we'll see. I mean, this is a all wait and see type of thing. And this is kind of what was going to happen if Jim made this move. This is the unknowns. So we'll see. I mean, so to go back, I would have probably say about 5 years.
Yeah, 535, something like that.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound obvious, okay, but I had to beat this drum a lot as Michigan was going through the Stallions allegations, right? Was winning fixes everything.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just on Prince, I don't know sorry, I'm trying to come up with this stuff as we do it. I'm not going to expect Michigan to win a national championship next year.
Right.
I don't think I would have expected that if Harbaugh was back either, right?
Yeah, true.
Georgia and Texas, I think, are going to be really, really good next year. I think there's any debate. Georgia was the second best team in college football this year. They're even better next year. Yeah. Texas brings a lot of dudes back, plus some dudes they sniped from Alabama. Ohio State, obviously, man, if you wanted to know what was going to get Ohio State going, it was Michigan winning a national championship.
Yeah.
Right. Their NIL efforts, the fan base.
All the eggs are in that basket. So, I mean,
and that's
I would argue that's the most pressure-packed job.
100%. And that's what I've been saying all along is like, I've got multiple feelings about the Ohio State thing, but number one, Michigan won a national championship. They've done it. Ohio State's reacting to it. Like Michigan won a national championship. I can't care that Ohio State is having a great offseason. I just can't. I do think they've built. I mean, they're doing a lot of what Michigan did last year. They got a lot of guys to stick around that could have gone to the NFL. They've added some transfer portal pieces. Now, you could have questions about Judkins and some of the things that have surrounded him and et cetera. And I don't want to dig into this too deep, but I'm with you. I think Ohio State will be natty or bust next year, right? And we know what that pressure is, right? We've seen Michigan go through it. So if he does it, then Ryan Day will have cemented himself and probably be a staple in Ohio State for a while. But if Ohio State doesn't win the Natty next year, right? So, Moore is going to have pressure on him, but it's going to be a very different pressure for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very interested in the coordinator hires. And not just that, but the rest of the staff too, because obviously if there's any internal promotions, new people are going to have to come in. And I think that's been a big question people have asked. We've talked about the Jim Harbaugh Rolodex, right? And his ability to hire staff. And let's be clear, and some other things we know or that we've been hearing too is Jim Harbaugh wanted Sherrone Moore to take over this program. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. Jim Harbaugh is not going to leave everyone here, right? He has people he wants to take with him. We've talked about Jesse Minter, obviously his son, which I'd love to see Jay stay, man. Like, I know why he would go, especially with family reasons, his kids and so on. But I'd love to see Jay do his own thing. I think that would be, that would be really cool. Cause at some point, I think from somebody covering Michigan, I think he's blown the nepotism stuff out of the water with the job that he's done, but continuing to follow him, it'd be interesting. So I'd love to see Jay stay. I think he's been impactful on recruiting and A very underrated coach who's coached every phase of this team, but expect him to go. Obviously, we expect Herbert to stay, but there's some talk there. But he's not going to screw over Sherrone Moore either. And I think he'll always answer the phone, and he'll always do what he can to help Moore as well. So we'll see what that means and for how long. Obviously, Moore is going to have to do his own trail. But you've brought up in the past too, like Moore's got some connections of his own, man. Moore played at Oklahoma in an era when that staff was loaded, right? And with Bob Stoops and oh my God, Sumlin was there and Venables was there, and he got his start under Charlie Strong. He didn't go with him to Texas, but some of those Texas dudes he's familiar with from when he was at Louisville, right? So Sherrone's not a nobody, right? So in terms of connections,
I can confirm.
This is so much fun. I'm just rambling, and then here you go.
I can confirm right now that Michigan is in the process of getting their waiver to get Moore hired before the 7-day thing. So they're in the process of getting that filled out and going through it.
Excellent.
So I don't know if it's going to happen. I would assume that they would, because the situation certainly deems necessary for it. But just want to confirm right now that that's being worked on right now.
So they could announce him as soon as possible. It would obviously be
whenever. At least before, if this goes through, at least before the 7-day thing. I mean, I know obviously if Michigan had their way, they probably would have announced it tonight. I mean, maybe that still happens. Maybe that process is quick. I doubt it. I know the ball has been moving for tomorrow. Moore is still in Texas. So he's trying to get a flight home tonight, but probably get back tomorrow. So yeah, they're in the process. I just don't know when that's going to happen. Obviously, I'm going to be asking around. But yeah, I expect that process to be underway and wrapped up fairly quickly. I mean, it's a good thing that it's done. This is getting done on a Wednesday, so you got Thursday and Friday to do it. So it's not like you have to wait for the weekend for the process to get through work days and whatever.
And look, I can tell you that I'm so bad at this. I don't want to give away too much and make it too obvious. But I'll say this: I spoke to a player's parent, a player that Michigan fans would probably say they are concerned about him being poached. Guys, this is a talented player coming back to Michigan. And he confirmed multiple things to me that obviously other programs have reached out, and Michigan has kept him aware through it all. And they don't expect him to leave, right? Like this isn't. I wondered with Saban leaving Bama. I think people forget what Alabama was before Nick Saban. Not all time, like all time they're blue blood, but there was an era there before Saban where they struggled. And I wondered, with the rotation of coaches he's had over the years, how much were people committed to Bama and how much were they committed to Saban? And it was pretty obvious pretty quick. Saban was a bigger piece than Alabama was, right? With Harbaugh in Michigan, just naturally with the way Harbaugh has run his program and the way the assistants have recruited and what they've been allowed to do, yes, Harbaugh and Michigan have been synonymous for a long time. I don't think there's as much clear separation with Harbaugh and Michigan as there is with Saban and Alabama, though.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with having the clear-cut coach in waiting in Sherrone Moore, right? I mean, if somebody like a Kirby Smart was still at Alabama, right, that announcement gets made right away, and maybe you don't see the exodus that you see. I don't want to try and guess who or how many players could come or go. Based on conversations I've had, I don't think it's going to be anything. I don't know. I don't know. I hate speculating and then whatever, but I'm not expecting anything crazy. I still think the spring window is probably going to be more active in and out for Michigan.
Yeah, I think that was the expectation, even if Harbaugh were to stay. So that's that the April window, kind of seeing what they have from a roster standpoint. I think that was always going to be That was always going to be the expectation. So,
sorry, I got to respond to this one.
It's all right. I'm just working.
Sorry, guys.
We're working.
We were trying.
Working through it in real time.
Oh man. Okay. All right. I don't know, Josh. What do you want to do?
I mean, I would. We can't really just. Yeah, I mean,
we could stay here all night saying the same things.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we can just talk in circles at this point. There's really not much else. The only thing I can say is head to the den. We were giving. We have a free until spring promo. If you're not a subscriber on the site, go to michigan.rivals.com/sign up. Use code NATChamps24, and you can join us until spring. So,
no.
Yeah, no.
24-hour stream. No.
No.
I don't have that in me, bro.
No, absolutely not. So, yeah. Oh, okay.
Let's just go. Let's do this. We've been on for an hour. We have 300 something people on YouTube, and I know more across other apps. We appreciate you guys in the comments and jumping in. Do make sure you're liking, subscribing, and doing the notification bell so you know when we go live with podcasts like this. We have our regular Hail to the Podcast and daily shows, but obviously with these things happening, right? Trevor, any loyal watcher knows what a Trevor recap time looks like, and no, that's not what I'm doing yet. No, I kind of want to go top to bottom, Josh. So what we've talked about, obviously Jim Harbaugh has gone to the Chargers. That always felt like the spot. I am very interested to hear all of the terms, because either the Chargers gave him everything he wanted or there were some concessions. I think a lot of the leaks coming out have been leverage moves, the Falcons thing and everything. So we'll see. I'm interested to see that. But Sherrone Moore, not only, expected without any doubt to be the head coach of Michigan, as Josh has said. Michigan is moving to make that happen quickly. Do you want to recap real quick what you talked about with the 7-day rule and what Michigan's doing there?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm all over the place. Okay. So, where do you want me to start?
Just the expectations of Moore getting the job, what that might look like with the 7-day window required by university policy, and what Michigan's doing to maybe get around that.
Okay. Yes. So, Sherrone Moore is going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. And Carter is really bugging the crap out of me right now. I wish he would be quiet for about 15 more minutes. That'd be awesome. So Sherrone Moore is going to be the guy. We're at the point now where Michigan is working to get the ball rolling with him. And at this point, the university rules require for all positions, it's not just an athletic department thing, for all positions to be open for 7 days. However, there is a waiver process that can be done to bypass those 7 days if you can show that there's a need for it. And folks, there's a need for it in the athletic department. So they're well underway of doing that. They're in the process of that. So Sherrone Moore is going to be the guy. He's going to work quickly to assemble his staff, get that done so they can keep players out of the portal. Right now, my expectation, who knows at this point if people enter the portal or not, but there's not an immediate names that jump out and say guys that are like, oh, Sherrone's the guy, I'm out. No, there's been a lot of support for this. So this is something that Michigan's been prepared for. Can I get a basketball rant?
Maybe at the end. We'll see how you're feeling.
That's coming on Sunday or Monday, whenever we record next.
Okay,
that's coming.
Perfect.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. But yeah, things are underway. It's moving. I don't know. I can't tell you how quickly it'll get to. This is a funny comment. Oh, that's funny.
Is it funny? That hurts my soul.
Oh, I laughed. It's just, that's where we are, the state of it all. So things are moving. I don't know how quickly they'll move. I think if Michigan had its way, it'd already be announced by now, but it's underway. It's going to happen. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of in the wait and see. What does this waiver process look like? I don't know. So we're wait and see, but it's Sharon Moore is going to be the guy. The expectation right now is that Jesse Minter and Jay Harbaugh will go with Jim. So maybe there's a chance that they keep him and try to entice him, but at this point, I'm pretty much penciling him in on the Chargers staff as DC. In terms of new coordinator, Steve Clinkscale will get a look. I don't know if he'll get the job. We'll see. I do expect him to stay on staff. There is talk of Mike Ellison staying on staff as well on the defensive side. Obviously, there's a linebacker position open. Now there's a safety position open too with Jay being gone. But as far as DC, the Clink is the only name that I've heard right now, and that's not the be all end all. There might be some guys that they talk to, but right now the only the departures that I feel pretty good about are Jay Minter, Jay Harbaugh, and Jay. Oh man, I'm woo. It is rare form today. Jay Harbaugh and Jesse Minter leaving. In terms of offensive staff, offensive coordinator, Kirk Campbell is going to be getting a heavy look at. Am I hitting the Taco Bell again? Yeah. Hey, you never know. Now with Sharon Moore, they may have more explosives, so you never know. Now that outweighs the Taco Bell debate, so that may be a positive out of all of that. So there is talk of Kirk Campbell being the offensive coordinator, and it makes sense. He has offensive coordinator experience. He called plays with Old Dominion, and obviously
from a recruiting standpoint, Kirk Campbell is a guy you want to keep around. I'll say that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And he does really well with quarterback recruits too. So,
Carter Smith has already had comments out, obviously, that he's sticking and looking forward to the next era. So,
Kirk Campbell likely going to stay, probably getting a pretty good look at offensive coordinator. If not, obviously if they go outside of that, he'll stay as QB coach. Mike Hart is another name that people haven't said with certainty whether he's staying, but that's another guy that could likely stay on. Obviously, Ron Bellamy too staying.
Newsom's going to become your offensive line coach.
Yep. The expectation is for Grant Newsom to be elevated to offensive line coach, which, if you paid attention to anything Harbaugh says over the last year, and he said quite a bit, that he was going to eventually name, if he were to stay, it was going to name Newsom as offensive coordinator at some point if Sharon were to depart. So this is a elevation for him up to offensive line. So it shouldn't be a drastically different staff. Again, it kind of depends if there's any surprise departures, like, I don't know, for Elston, for example, or something like that. I'm not saying that he's 100% going to leave, but if someone were to magically leave, I think there's not going to be a whole heck of a lot of change up. I mean, obviously, if they go new with both coordinators, that's going to be something interesting to look at. But the expectation right now is that only two of those staff members are going to be gone in Minter and Jay Harbaugh. So, again, we're just kind of in wait and see mode right now. Very much in wait and see mode right now. So I think Grant Newsom to offensive line is really, I think that's a really good, smart move. I think Grant Newsom is a rising coach, and it allows Sharon to be flexible to kind of fill out the staff how he sees fit. He could say, all right, Grant, you can be offensive lineman, but you can also take over the tight ends too. Or he can just hire a brand new tight end coach, hire a linebackers coach, maybe add a safeties coach. So you can kind of, with these openings, you can kind of be a little bit of a little flexible in terms of how you fill it out.
No, that's actually a really good point. Like there's some versatility built into the staff. Remember,
we don't know that yet. Your average
tight
fan,
end coach,
the tight end coach, we don't know. I mean, we don't even know if he plans on filling that role. It could be reserved for something completely different. So
he could coach tight ends potentially too.
Right.
We've seen Harbaugh do that with quarterbacks in the past. But,
right.
Yeah.
So it's still
Bellamy was initially hired. Bellamy was initially hired to be safeties coach. Right. Yeah. Now, obviously he played wide receiver. That makes a lot of sense. But like, I don't know, considering you're having a change at head coach, I don't know that the turnover on the coaching staff will be that much more significant than a normal Harbaugh year, which is 2, 3, 4 coaches changing, right? Especially post national championship, right? We knew Jesse Minter was going to be heavily coveted in the NFL. Let's be honest. Sherrod Moore, if Jim Harbaugh was 100% coming back this year and there was no NFL flirtation, there's a good chance Sherrod Moore would have taken a job too. Right? Like that's kind of been built into this as well. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. I think what we're going to do now, guys, we've been on a little over an hour. If there's any topics you've missed, you can go back, but I think we're going to head over to our site, michigan.rivals.com. We're obviously going to have articles up, and Josh and I are going to be in the den providing updates and intel as it comes in. So make sure michigan.rivals.com. If you're not signed up already, the timing, we do have a promo free until spring, Nat Champs 24. If you go to Josh or my Twitter accounts, we have it posted, but we got it rolling at the bottom there, Nat Champs 24. That gets you into the den to be part of the conversation with the other Michigan fans in the community. And then obviously, like I said, continue to follow along with Josh's intel and info as we can provide it. I have a whole bunch of ideas, stuff I want to talk about. And
well, that's the thing too. That's the bad part about all this is that we really couldn't publish content because we didn't know what direction this thing is.
I did like my one depth chart thing, and I'm like, what else do I do?
Right. This thing there's so many more different directions we could go. If Jim stayed, we can talk about Jim staying, and from a content standpoint, not necessarily a podcast standpoint, but from a written content on the website standpoint, we really couldn't do anything because, Jim Harbaugh and Sherrod Moore, you can take two widely different paths and there's no use speculating on either side until you get kind of an idea of what's going to happen. So now here we are, we have an idea of what's happening. So now we can kind of follow a path. That's kind of a good point because I felt like we weren't doing anything but doing things at the same time. It was a tough position to be in. And then I'm sure, it's a tough position for everyone to be in, trying to wait to just kind of waiting and see what happens. It's like everyone is in this, really tough spot. It's an emotional time for a lot of fans coming off a national championship and now you lose your head coach. It's tough, but
and what?
Now we have finality. There's finality. We can move forward, and we'll see what the future holds.
And I probably need to do a better job at times of not trying to tell anybody how to feel, right? And sometimes I think I say and do that, but I think it's just important to take perspective sometimes. And again, all year I've been talking about when I was 12 years old and Michigan won a national championship. Charles Woodson right here, right? What that meant to me as a kid and my lack of understanding that wasn't normal, right? And that we would have to wait as long as we have to get this national championship. I want people to still enjoy it. I think that's really important. I told you all year building up to it too, and all the NCAA stuff was happening. Like, don't let them take this from you, like literally emotionally and what you're doing. Right. And I think it's okay to be bummed. Right. I'm not shocked. I told you I felt relief when this happened. Harbaugh was going to leave at this point. Like I think the way this has gone down is more affirming too. Right. Mm-hmm. Did Michigan give him absolutely everything he wanted until the last minute? Again, you guys can all have that conversation. But at the end of the day, Jim Harbaugh wanted to go back to the NFL. And once he got the opportunity that made sense for him and his family, he did it. And I think you can wish him well and still be excited about where Michigan football has gotten to, where they are, this new era with Sherrone Moore. Man, if Harbaugh left in 21 or 22, right? Like what a much better place for him to leave, right? Like I think that's part of it for me. So it's going to be exciting. We get to talk about new stuff, new staff, and what it means, and the players. And 21, 2023 always felt like an era in its own. Maybe we didn't know how significant of its own era it was going to be, but there it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, as so many people have mentioned in here, Michigan is our national champions, and you can't take that away for 365 days. Well, you can't take that away for a lifetime.
Right.
That's forever. The memories that this Team 144 has made lasts forever. So that's the most important part right now. I know obviously it's kind of hard to for some to wrap their head around Jim Harbaugh leaving, but this felt like the appropriate send-off. This was the head off into the sunset type of thing, and like someone mentioned in here, it would be a lot different if he left without getting over that championship hump. Yeah. So I think you'd see a lot more angrier people tonight knowing if they didn't win a national championship, but I guess you'll never know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters. Michigan has won a national championship. You can't take that away from them. You can't take away that feeling that you had on that Monday night where Michigan won and beat Washington. That lasts forever. The job's done. A job well done, good sir. Good luck in your future. I'm excited to see what Sherrone Moore is like in press conferences now as a head coach. I'm sure we'll get nothing out of him, just like we got nothing out of Harbaugh.
I hope not.
But we won't see any Shakespeare speeches anymore. That will you left. I mean,
that was somewhat awesome. That was somewhat awesome though. So I was telling everybody the movie Renaissance Man from the earlier
Michigan just
mid-90s.
released a statement.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one moment.
My story's not that important, so go ahead.
Yeah, I don't care about your story.
It's not. There's no way. Long. All right, go ahead.
Oh wow, good for Ward here. Okay, I want to thank Jim for everything you've done for our football program, athletic department, and the University of Michigan over the past 9 years. Every day he's worked extremely hard to elevate the stature of Michigan across the world with the goal of winning championships and developing young men on and off the football field. Jim did exactly what he sought to do at Michigan, build our program consistently, win Big Ten championships, and compete for national championships, culminating with a record 3 straight outright conference titles and the national championship this year. He did the same off the field by graduating his players and providing life experiences through mentorships, internships, and team trips around the globe. We have been discussing a new contract that would make Jim the highest paid coach in college football. In the end, he wanted to explore and ultimately decide to pursue a return to coaching in the NFL. We can't thank Jim enough for all that he has done for our student athletes, staff, and Michigan football. He will always be a huge part of our rich history, blah, 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 blah. And Ono is included in here today. We've been in talks with Jim Harbaugh for the last several weeks and have tried our best to retain him as our football coach. Jim called me today and let me know that he has made the difficult decision to leave Michigan and blah, 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 blah. So I'm glad that they mentioned that they were working to get that deal done, because they were. But you can only work on the deal so much with a guy that wasn't focused on the deal, that was focused on, let's call it what it is, greener pastures. Michigan was the side piece for the better part of a month. The Michigan was the side piece. Michigan was always going to be there if you got hurt. That Michigan was the person that saw your relationship status change on Facebook and be the first to message you, say, "Hey, you good? I saw. Are you good? Are you good?" Well, that relationship status is now turned from it's complicated to in a relationship with Los Angeles Chargers. So the side piece thing is no more, and onward. That's really all that comes down to it.
And somebody posted this, and I guess we don't know, right? I don't know if, a potential opening at Oklahoma where Moore played for 2 years would be something that entice him. But there is a feeling, at least, with a 37, 38-year-old head coach that if he's successful, Sherrone Moore could be here for a very long time. And we'll have to see, right? Like, if he is successful, what that means and how people react and how he's viewed, and more importantly, how he handles that, right? Because he's not going to handle rumors the same way Jim Harbaugh did. I don't know if anyone handles rumors the way Jim Harbaugh did, right? So I think there's at least a chance of that, right? And that's something to be excited about, man. Like, you accept what comes with Harbaugh because of, I mean, he's just Michigan's dude. He was the perfect fit at the right time, blah, whatever. You accepted what came with it, especially to get the results you got in the last 3 years. But I think there's some positivity that could come from a new guy and maybe somebody else who's allowed to put their staple on this and make this program theirs.
Yeah,
right?
I want to point this out by David because I think this is an excellent point. Michigan, Sherrone Moore has 2 links to the NFL right now, 2 guys that he can ask about and talk about. You know, he's got Jim, obviously, and now he's got John. He's got 2 winning coaches that he can tap into their resources for future staff, for philosophy, obviously, and for sending guys to the pros. You know, you've got 2 big people in your corner. And who knows what other people he knows. I'm sure there's other coaches out there that he has connections to. And obviously that's what networking is, and he'll do that too. But having a John and Jim Harbaugh in your corner and being able to have access to that web of people, that Rolodex, you know, it's huge. It's huge. So I don't know if Moore is that close to John, your average fan, but I mean, I'm not expecting here to John to hit deny on a call if Sherrone were to call him. You'd have to imagine that there's some sort of relationship there. I don't know if it's close, but enough to, and there's a couple of points too. Mike McDonald, if he gets hired, that's another head coach in your corner too. So there's a lot working in Sherrone's favor. Obviously, you got to win. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And that what's working against Moore is that Michigan's coming off a national championship. So the patience isn't necessarily going to be there. But you got to win. You have to win. You can't go 8-4, 8-4, 8-4, 8-4 and do that. You got to win. So
I think he's got a little bit more relief in this first year, but it's going to be trends. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of.
If they go 9-3, it's how did you go 9-3? Maybe, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It just depends on how it looks, right? Yeah. I mean, you got to pass the sniff test, so to speak,
for sure.
And if it smells like crap, then yeah, you're going to be in trouble.
Average fan points out, luckily, week 2 he gets to play Texas. So
yeah. Well, to be fair, he beat 2 top 10 teams. He beat Penn State and Ohio State. Penn State on the road. So, I mean, it's not like a top 10 team or whatever Texas is going to be ranked by, week 2. I don't think it's going to be that big of a thing, but it's all about the sniff test. So we'll see.
And there's time. We'll see. We got a lot of stuff to talk about before we get there. There was something else on here.
They gotta officially announce them first.
Yeah, step 1, right? And then obviously, like I said, we'll have that covered. But
yeah.
I was gonna say, last thing. The other thing that Sherrone Moore has in his favor is this is Michigan, right? We saw Brady Hoke and Rich Rod at what would be low points in Michigan football's era still recruit really, really well, right? I think this program has a floor as Michigan that can help a first-time coach like Sherrone Moore coming in. Then again, maintaining the culture and everything else that's happened, I don't expect to drop off, and we've made the argument. I wouldn't be shocked if recruiting actually goes up a little bit. right? But
there's always this, I don't know what you want to call it.
Like a new coach bump.
Yeah, the new, I don't know why I'm just sticking to the smell analogies, but the new coach smell always comes
No, that's
in
a real
strong.
thing. 100%.
It is, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I would not be shocked if Sharon is going to be successful initially on the recruiting trail, which could, extend onward. But it's just because Sharon's a likable guy. He's genuine. What you see is what you get with Sharon. He's not there's nothing about Sharon that's fake. So, and I think that's going to really resonate with, I mean, what am I saying? It's resonated with recruits, but as a leader of a football program, it's different. It's easy to be a good recruiter and be, a good, to be kind of the, sorry, I got another text. I got totally sidetracked.
Well,
it's easy to be a good recruiter and be an assistant, but to recruit well and be a leader of a program, that reflects on you. This is your reflection is your program. That's a reflection of you. So this is a new mindset, a new everything. So it's easy for recruits to relate to it. And I do want to mention, because thank you, blank name, for mentioning Gatlin Bear. I know for a fact that Gatlin Bear is comfortable with Sharon Moore being the head coach. And I don't think that changes Michigan's chances with him at all. I do 100% agree that he could end up being committed to Michigan by February.
Sorry, you guys are providing really great comments, and it's making me hard for me to sign off. I think Sharon Moore is in a unique position where he gets to do what you just said and sell his vision and have that new coach smell, right? Everybody likes to be a part of something that's new and exciting, right? We've seen that across college football every time a coach can come and make a splash, but he also has the defending national champions and that foundation of culture too. So he's in a good spot. From the recruiting standpoint, Mr. Martini brings up a good point. The negative recruiting bit by rivals is gone now, right?
Yeah, what are they going to say? Yeah, what are they going to say?
Right.
Oh, Sharon's going to go to Oklahoma the next time it opens up. It's like, what is it going to happen?
And Sharon can be the closer on recruits too. He has done it at every position as recruiter. Do you guys remember a kid from Oklahoma committing to Oklahoma named Dax Hill a week before signing day? And then a guy from Oklahoma named Sharon Moore going and getting him to come back.
It was Alabama, but your point still stands.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was thinking I had Oklahoma in my head, Alabama. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I'm so tired. Yeah. Sharon's that dude, man. But again, he's got to do that and win. Right. Harbaugh is
run a program.
Right. Harbaugh and what he did in this era is so unique to me because you come in and a lot of times you've got one shot. You've got your one window to come in and say, this is my vision. This is my plan. I need you to be the guy that does this for me, right? You're the one that's going to turn this around, right? You have to sell your vision versus your results. And then you've got a couple years where did those results happen or not, right? In 2017, 2018, post 18 more, that's the start of another window for Jim in a lot of ways, where now he's got to sell his vision again, right? Guess what? We're farther away from that Super Bowl appearance. You're recruiting kids that are 14, 15, 16, who were very young when that happened. That matters less and less what you've done at Michigan, right? Harbaugh tries again to sell this vision, this plan, whatever, 18, 19, and then obviously 20 happens. So 2021 was really Harbaugh's third chance at selling a vision and bringing Michigan back. And I think a lot of people that maybe wanted him gone or wanted to make a change, I think it had less to do with Harbaugh. Everybody wanted to win with Harbaugh and more to do with, man, is he going to be able to do this? Can he pull this off? Right. And how many coaches get that third window of opportunity to sell a vision, to sell a plan, right? Will Sharon Moore have more than one window? Probably not. He hasn't earned what Jim Harbaugh had earned in terms of that, right? So he's going to come in inheriting this program. He's going to have his vision. He's going to have his plan, and he's going to sell it to keep the people that are here and to bring new people in. And by next year already, you're going to want to see his imprint. But by year 2 and 3, this is going to have to be Sharon Moore's program.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, I think Ryan Day is the other example in terms of like the assistant being promoted. He had his first window when Urban left. This is probably his last window, and the Ohio State fan base and boosters giving him everything he needs. Right. So
Yeah.
back to what we said, winning matters. Winning.
Let's talk about college football right now, man. I mean, they lost
Good
Saban,
God.
Harbaugh in a matter of weeks, man. That's a big hit for good coaches leaving. So, I mean, that good coaches come and go, of course, but losing legendary coaches.
Belichick might not get the Falcons gig.
Yeah. Belichick. It's
crazy.
If you're a coach, a legendary coach right now, it's a tough time to be used.
Well, and let's be honest too. College football is going into a brand new era as well.
Yeah, young man game.
Yeah, 100%. The expansion of the conferences, the expansion of the playoff. I think Michigan was built to win the 14 playoff in the window that they did, and they did it at the last stop. Mm-hmm. And now we'll see if they're uniquely built for this new era, right? Because you could make, I mean, you've seen what's happened with Dabo, and you can make the argument Saban, I mean, he said so himself. It's just a lot harder now than it used to be for him, right? Yep. Guy 72 looks, I hope I look that great when I'm 72, Jesus. But yeah, it's a different game now. So I think the last thing I want to say before we go, you were talking about people leaving the sport. The one thing, not football field related, off the football field, that I hope Sherrone Moore, and maybe it's not him, I shouldn't put this on him. If this isn't who he is, then he doesn't have to do it. But I think college football players had an incredible advocate in Jim Harbaugh. And part of me being bummed for him leaving is I just think he was a better coach for college football. And his advocacy for NIL to begin with, the ability to transfer freely, and then now revenue share and everything that he said, Jim has not been scared to say uncomfortable things and challenge the NCAA, right? I don't want to put that on Moore. I don't know how public he has to be with it. So maybe that's not where I should be coming from this. Maybe the angle is just this is a bummer for college football, losing that voice. But we know more in what he means to the players and what he says, and maybe if he's doing enough behind the scenes or forward or whatever. But I think that's just kind of my bummer in all this. I know Jim wants to go and win a Super Bowl and whatever. I hope this doesn't flame out like it did with the Niners for his sake. Like you said, I'm not rooting for him to fail. I am rooting for him. But at the end of the day, I'm excited for this new era of Michigan. I'm excited for more. That little piece, though, I think in this era, this time right now, I think it is a bummer that Jim is leaving college. And maybe he'll still cite things from the pros too, but
yeah, we'll ultimately see. College football has gotten worse today. I mean, just as it got worse, however long ago, it feels like a lifetime ago that Saban retired. But yeah, I mean, from these two losses, college football is in a worse state than what it was a couple of weeks ago, because you got teams, 3 out of the 4, as I said earlier, 3 out of the 4 playoff teams this year have new coaches. So, I mean, that's just what it is now. I mean, it is what it is. It's, I can't blame Harbaugh. You can't blame him. He came to Michigan to do what he was set out to do, and he went off into the sunset, and, and now he can go and chase that Super Bowl ring. So,
which if he gets it, the conversations around Jim Harbaugh as a football coach.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're talking, his win percentage in the NFL was already like top 10 or top 5. I can't remember exactly where he left with the Niners. But, Pete Carroll obviously won at USC and then went to the Seahawks. Jimmy Johnson with the Dolphins and the Cowboys. But if Harbaugh can take another team to the Super Bowl and win and restore Michigan and win a national championship, you start talking about him as one of the 5 best football coaches of all time, period, right? So, yeah. And here's the thing about most of these head coaches. They get to where they are because they are very confident that they will succeed, right? So, like, Harbaugh's not going to the NFL thinking, well, maybe I could win one. He thinks he's going to win a Super Bowl, right? Like that's why you go. He's not considering the possibility he will. So, all right, guys, thank you for sticking with us. I think we've talked about everything we can. We appreciate you following along as we've been getting the updates as they come in. I've seen Josh. I'm getting notifications. Has been posting to Maize and Blue Review, Michigan.rivals.com as we've been doing the podcast.
I've been trying to multitask here. I think that's the last one for the day, but who knows? Who knows?
You're the best, man. You and I were obviously texting a ton today as rumors were going wild, and we looked silent while a lot of stuff was out there, and a lot of the stuff that was out there wasn't true.
Yeah.
So, I don't want
there is positives and negatives to that. I mean, I hate posting that, oh, there's nothing going on, but I think that's more of an update than just throwing crap at a wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, there wasn't much that we were hearing, you know, it's just, that was it. And then, I got a text message, oh, tomorrow's going to be the day. And then literally 10 minutes later, Schefter tweets what he did. And I was like, all right, well, here we go. So the only way that we were really going to know is when it was done, when it was Michigan was informed, the players were informed or whatever. That's the only way we really knew that one way or the other.
And that's Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
Like, let's be clear. I don't want to make this a self-promotion moment all of a sudden, but for some of the accusations of the Michigan beat in general, but us specifically, I can only speak for us and, carrying the water for Michigan or whatever. We broke the Schembechler story, right?
Yeah.
We broke the Harbaugh suspension, right? When we have sources and we're confident, we're going to share it. We're not going to peddle every single rumor we hear, though. And sometimes you have a situation like this where it's high profile. The head coach is interviewing with the NFL and there's this void of information and you want the update every second. Guys, it's not healthy because that's not real, right? Like that's just not how those things work. And in the case of Jim Harbaugh, I mean, you don't know. We've said all along, I'm not going to believe Jim Harbaugh is going until Jim Harbaugh says he's going because that's Jim Harbaugh, right? We all thought the Vikings was a done deal too. Like it looked like he was going to the Chargers, obviously, but would have anybody been shocked by a very similar Schefter tweet that says Jim Harbaugh has called Ward Manuel, things that broke off with the Chargers? He's heading back to Ann Arbor, just like what happened in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
I'm just not in the Jim Harbaugh prediction business, right?
I'm glad that I'm glad that I don't have to deal with that anymore, partially. But
I think you and I are at a different point. Like, I know fans are really bummed, but man, you guys, it's hard.
Yeah,
fingers crossed. Sharon Moore's a little.
I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not asking for you to understand.
No, not at all.
That's just us, just being able to complain because we have a platform.
Just joking. 100%.
But I mean, there is a little bit of relief, I guess. But that's purely selfish. I'll say it purely for selfish.
There's the other side of the relief too, which is like you said, this has just kind of always been hanging there.
Right.
And Michigan has started to, when he came here, I'm sorry, like I'm not negative towards the guy, but when I read the quote from Harbaugh about playing for the Chargers and the Spanos family and this feeling like home, he said that when he came here too. Right. And we're talking about a guy that took a longer way to work every day so he could drive the way Bo did. Right. Like, I'm not saying you can't have two places that make you feel that way. Okay. But like Harbaugh came to Michigan and everybody thought he was here to save Michigan. And obviously he did get it to a national championship or whatever. Not whatever. That's a big deal. But the longer this went on, 21 and on, like that door was never going to close. And the success made it worth it. But it's just, there's this relief of like, he's where he wanted to be. He wanted to be back in the NFL, and that's where he is now. And Sharon Moore is going to be hungry this role, man. And this staff is going to be hungry. And I think that's kind of a sense of relief for me too, is you didn't fire Harbaugh in 2020, right? We'll talk about basketball on Hail to the Podcast on Sunday or Monday. but that's a difficult situation you're potentially looking at with a legendary player, right? So we'll see. I think relief is a good word, and I think being excited is okay. So
No, you got a fan here, Trevor.
Q doesn't have a clue. All right. Michigan Wolverine. It's weird how many people, well, I guess I know why people don't post their names, but it's weird. The ones that talk the most don't post their names.
Yeah.
Wonder why that is. Anyway.
Yeah, Trevor, you have no idea. No idea what you're talking about, Trevor.
I think I admit that often.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys want to talk F1.
Trevor the GOAT, no cap. Yeah, Steve.
That's funny.
Hilarious. That's awesome. Love it.
Trevor's a moron. Oh, this is getting good.
Oh, Trevor. Oh, look at that. You got a fan. Yeah, or should I say a stan?
I have a feeling I know who
They stole all the M-Turfs here. They stole my line. I love it. It's not imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
That's funny. I'm so glad
you've made a name for yourself, the M-Turf.
I'm so
is
glad
it
you're here.
M-Turf or the M-Turf? I don't know.
Oh, the M-Turf would make way more sense.
Them-Turf?
As a Michigan fan.
All right, Michigan Wolverine, you're done. See ya.
Yeah, I don't know if you think I'm gonna get upset or like.
Trevor, you a moron. Trevor.
Oh no, I have to be wiped by everybody.
Trevor, you a poopy head.
Oh no, this random guy doesn't like me. Who would you? I don't even know how to answer this question. It's gonna be Sharon.
No, there's no one else. I know our pal WW here has posted a bunch of names, but I'm sorry, but none of them are going to happen. And Steve mentioned here, Trevor treats trolls like their parents treated them, ignoring them. I do the opposite. I call them out like the assholes they are because that's what they deserve. But I know you can't feed the trolls, but sometimes
you can get me to battle, but like say something.
Yeah, like instead of saying Trevor's a poopy doopy head that doesn't know anything.
What?
Good one.
There's plenty of shit you can make fun of me for.
That's really clever. He pulled that one out of the back pocket.
Yeah, I don't know. That was weird. Yeah, like this. Derek's right. Make fun of my skunk beard if you want.
Skunk beard.
That's fine.
Skunk beard.
I hate it. I hate it, but not enough to go Ryan Day and paint my hair black. But,
yeah.
And I can't cut it off because I have no chin and I look ridiculous.
Just for men's stock has never been hired.
Yeah.
I just want to say this about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly killed a kid. That alone should just eliminate him from any further positions ever, especially Michigan.
Well, and Brian Kelly was in Michigan for a long time. Okay, so like full disclosure, I'm very familiar with Grand Valley State. Like there's buildings with his name on it, right? And then
he's an asshole.
He's an asshole.
He's an asshole. They don't need him.
He just doesn't have the reputation. And let's be honest, I brought this up already. Brian Kelly wants people to know he's interested in Michigan, not the other way around.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
The dude is already trying to get out of LSU. And probably back to the Midwest, maybe Northeast, Boston thing. I made a joke about the Patriots. If they wouldn't have had Mayo on the like guaranteed clause to be made the head coach, I bet he would have fought like hell for that. I just
Belichick.
Yeah, whatever you think about Brian Kelly, it's not happening. It's just not a thing.
No way.
They didn't hire Les Miles, guys. They're not going to hire Brian Kelly. So, let's see. Why was Mitch on the road recruiting? Because these guys do their job till it's not their job anymore, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
They
have jobs.
Jay Harbaugh, like I said, literally offered somebody yesterday. Right. So, I think this speaks to the fact that, Jim Harbaugh had to sell Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers and vice versa, right? This wasn't a done deal as quick as everybody thought it was. But
it's a great point by Brian. Coaches and agents are disappointed that this coach opening has little salary leverage. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's going to be not many phone calls being made in the next couple of days. Jeez.
I hear James Franklin may be interested.
Yeah, I don't think Franklin's going to be able to squeeze another raise out of this.
Incredible work.
Yeah, his agent.
What he's managed to do, incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I think we're done. We good?
I'm good.
All right. Again, guys, appreciate you all. We almost went 2 hours.
Jeez, I was not expecting that.
I wasn't either, but hey, we had a lot of people watching, a lot of good comments, except for the guy that called me a moron.
Oh no! Except for the guy who called you the poopy doopy doop doop head.
I try so hard.
Yes, we're gonna ignore WW. Pal, I love you, but yeah, we're gonna ignore Kirby because there's no chance in hell that Kirby Smart is coming to Michigan. I mean, and I don't think just no.
It'd be like Jim Harbaugh going to Georgia.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I love you. Thank you for the comments. But
the man has a powerhouse built at his.
We're ignoring him because it's not a real. That's like a dreamland scenario type of thing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I mean, call it dreamland. I don't want him here, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. We appreciate you guys. Make sure head over to michigan.rivals.com. Like I said, the conversation will continue inside the den. Yeah, no offense, WW. Oh, sorry. That's the wrong one. There you go.
No, yeah, we're not. Yeah, no.
Yeah, we're not mad at you, dude. You're all right.
Yeah.
Michigan.rivals. Hey, everybody was hiring his grandkid, and look how that worked out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's hire the ghost of Newt Rockne while we're at it. Maybe he'll be able to fill the team. He'll be able to work NIL.
I still can't get over Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame. You say that. The winningest coach. He passed Newt Rockne. What are you doing, you moron?
Yeah.
Oh, me and my family are so happy to be in Louisiana having crawfish. Yeah.
Yeah, we having a crawfish boil
with
the crawdads.
So terrible. So terrible. Okay. Let's bring back fielding. Yeah, sorry.
Stupid.
Michigan.rivals. This is my usual sign off. I don't think I've had a good one in months. All right. When is spring, by the way? Somebody asked that. Do you know? What's the date for free? Spring camp?
Hold on. There's a date. I just got to find the actual email. I got to go for my emails.
I want to make sure because, yeah, we probably should.
That's a good question.
With that, yeah. But yeah, if you're not a subscriber already, we're doing Nat Champs.
Free trial until. So the free trial goes through the 20th of March.
That's not bad.
But the our offer is valid through the 29th of January. So we only have a limited time.
Okay. So a few days. Nat Champs 24.
Yep. It'll take you through basically the end of March.
Use that promo code. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on this emergency
new
podcast.
Subscribers only, by the way. It's new subscribers only. So we'll welcome all new subscribers and we'll earn your stay.
All right, Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers, and all expectations as a new era will begin with Sharon Moore. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. I've had that all day. Time. All right, guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you live Sunday or Monday with Hail to the Podcast. Again, make sure you're liking, subscribing, and notification bell when we go live. Otherwise, that's it. Harbaugh era over. More era begins. We'll see you over at Maize and Blue Review.